everybody, it's Brooke with Mrs. Cog Hill Farm, and you can see behind me is the purple martin pole. And we bought our gourds from a manufacturer that makes them where you can open up the gourd. And at the end of every season, once the birds have gone south, which is South America, you are supposed to clean them out and store them away for the winter. Now this is our first season, full season, having this pole up, and Jason has lowered it for me. He actually lowered it when the last hurricane was coming through, and we never raised it back up because there was no need to. The birds had already left for the season. But today's the day. I'm going to take the gourds down, and we're going to take a peek inside and see if any babies may have hatched this season. Now we know we saw 4 birds, 4 purple martins that hung out on our power line, and we saw going back and forth out of these houses, but we also saw bluebirds. Now, the houses are not meant for bluebirds to nest in, but there's not really any way to keep the bluebirds out. And I just so happen to like bluebirds. So as long as the purple martins are willing to share this contraption with the bluebirds, we're good with it. Now, we did go around the property after we saw that the bluebirds were nesting in the purple martin houses, which was an indication to us that, well, they needed somewhere to nest. So went around the property and put up birdhouses that were intended for bluebirds. Various locations around the property, so hopefully next year they'll see this and decide to use it as their nesting spot versus, I don't know if I can even show it to you guys, but versus this, which is intended for purple martins. Now the reason that you don't particularly want other breeds to nest in it is because they tend to form, purple martins tend to form a group. And as long as they see others of their kind nesting in that area, it's going to allow them to realize, hey, this is a safe nesting spot for those birds that may have lost their previous place that they used to nest. Now, they will continue to use that same place year after year. Once they've nested here, then as long as this pole stays here and the gourds are there for them, then those birds that nested here this year will be back next year, providing they made the journey and all is well. So, I gotta go to the barn, get a few tools. A ladder's gonna be a must because while it's lowered, it's still too high for me to reach. And we tied it on with wire, so I really don't want to cut all that wire off. I really want to untwist it, but I may need a pair of pliers just in case it's twisted so tight that I can't undo it. So Rocky and Bandit are waiting on me, as you heard them talking, and I bet Dee Dee's going to hitch a ride. So off to the barn we go, get some tools, and we'll be right back. All right, Dee Dee, up you go. So I know I have to have a pair of pliers so I can twist the wire if it's in there too tight that I can't get it off. Oh y'all, I never know what drawer to look in, but he does have it so nice and organized. I just got to figure out which drawer is which. All right, let's see. What kind of pliers do I want? I'm going to get a pair of needle nose, and I'm also going to get where are your regular pliers, Jason? I just need a regular pair of pliers. Probably right in my face. Oh well, let's see. Those are wire cutters. Well, maybe these will work. So I was debating on what size ladder to get because, well, we have a couple and they're big. So I'm just going to go with the regular old 6-foot ladder, and if I can't reach it, Jason's going to have to come to my rescue. But hopefully that'll work because this is my next choice. And I don't really want to pick it up and load it in the beep beep with Dee Dee's help, of course. We're just going to grab this one and hopefully it'll work. I think that's everything I need. I do need something to put the gourds in to store away for the winter. But I think I'm gonna cross that bridge when I get there. For today, I'm just gonna take them down, maybe put them in the back of the beep beep because I need to clean them out and get them just ready to be stored away. All right, Dee Dee, you ready, girl? You wanna go with me instead of her? You can. Oh, gotta stay at the barn. All right, girl, I don't blame you one bit if you wanna go home because it is hot out here. But if you wanna sit and wait, you can certainly do that. Let's help you get off. All right, let's see what you choose to do. Looks like you might be going home. I don't blame you. All right, I'm gonna get my ladder down off the side by side and see what's inside the purple martin houses. You know, I hadn't really thought about this, but it just occurred to me because I saw a wasp fly by. Hopefully, there's not a wasp nest in any of them, because if it is, I might fall off my ladder. I don't see any flying around over here, but I'm certainly going to be cautious when I'm going in these, I almost said hives, houses. I'm just going to take them down first, I think, and then I'll go back and look in every one of them. I'm not so sure how hard this is going to be to untwist all these wires. I know Jason had a time trying to get them up there because he had to cut all the wire. But it shouldn't be too terribly bad to get it off. And we did put leaves in every one of the houses, so we're going to have to try to distinguish between what a nest looks like versus what we put in there looks like. I wonder if I can figure out how to leave the wire on there. Let's go ahead and open this one up. All right, that looks like what we put in there. I don't know if y'all can see it, but we put a handful of leaves in there, and that's what we were told to do to allow them to make a nest out of it. Now, they may add to it, but this would give them a start, and they would know that it is to be used to make a nest. And who knows, they may have chose the higher gourds versus the ones that are lower. I don't know. This is going to be a bigger job than I signed up for today. It's supposed to be some cooler weather coming in with the new tropical system, but I want to get this done today. And I'm going to peek in this one too, and then I'm not looking in anymore until, whoa, a wasp nest. Oh my goodness. Y'all, I'm putting the lid back on it. This might not be such a good idea. I did not get stung, but there is a wasp nest in that one. I think I spoke too soon. Well, I didn't make them mad, that's for sure, because they didn't get after me. But I'm definitely going to be cautious. And I'm glad I didn't fall off the ladder. I think I'm going to turn my ladder in another position too. Well, I got all the gourds down. So 24 gourds. Hadn't been that long since we put it up. You'd think I'd remember, but I don't. So I'm going to go in the house and cool off for a second before we open them up. But I got to show y'all something, and that is Miss Tucker. Tucker stays on the side porch over here most of the time, and that's because it's cool. And because her friends stay over here. Her friends are Rocky and Bandit, and a lot of times you'll catch them curled up on the same bed together. Rocky's not on a bed today. He's decided he's going to be under the swing. That's the little house that we feed the cats in, and we have it blocked off so the dogs can't stick their head in there and steal the cat food. Y'all told me you hadn't seen Tucker lately. So here's Tucker's rear end, and she's wiggling her tail as to say, Bandit, take the bait. I'm going to get me something to drink, cool off for a second, and go back out and open these things up and see if anything at all has nested over the spring or summer months. So if y'all saw one of my last videos, Nugget taught me a little something. And that is to find something that offers just a little bit of shade, such as beside the beet right here. and rest. I went in, got me some water. I'm back out here. We're gonna open these gourds up, but I'm gonna find this little bit of shade because, you know, I could load all these gourds up and I could take them to the barn and we could sit inside. But you know what I don't want to happen? I've got 2 of these set aside over here that I know have wasp nests in them. And I can just about guarantee that if I loaded them up and I got the bumping going down the road, that those wasps are gonna make an exit. And I don't want that to happen. So if it happens here, I can get away. But if I'm driving, they may find me quicker than I can find them. So here we go. I'm gonna sit in my little spot of shade, and these are in no particular order. So we're just gonna give it a go. I am sitting down, so it's gonna take me a minute to get up if they come after me. But y'all know what's going on if I take off. Up there a few times when I was time-lapsing, there was a couple swarming around me and I could see them going in various gourds. But I was very careful and I did not get stung. Not to say it won't happen, but I didn't get stung. And I must confess that Jason told me the pole was down. So I just automatically took that to mean it was all the way down. And I told you guys that I needed a tall ladder. Well, I thought I was gonna have to stand on the tip top of that ladder to get the upper ones. And I looked and I said, you know, it looks like it's got more slack. So I started lowering it, and when I did, lo and behold, it lowered even further. So I didn't have to stand on the tip top of the ladder. Now, I do see several wasps flying around right now, but this is what Jason would be doing. If they were flying around him, he would automatically go to swatting. And that is the #1 thing you should not do. Rachel, our beekeeper, Rachel and Roy, Rachel will tell you first thing, don't swat. But it's so hard not to. But seriously, they take you as a threat if you start swatting, and they're just coexisting right now. I haven't done anything to make them mad, so they're not gonna come after me and just automatically try to sting me. But I am gonna be careful upon opening. All right, so no change in this one. That's the leaves we put in there. There's no evidence that a bird nested in there over the winter. And on to the next one. All right. I'm trying to make sure I don't see any flying out the front before I open this side, because they're going to come right at my face if that happens. All right, #2, nothing. And I told y'all that we only think that there were 2 pair here. So I don't expect to find more than evidence that 2 pair of birds nested. Now, there may have been some bluebirds that nested, and if there were, there should be some shells left over that will be the telltale sign as to what bird. Oh, look at here, y'all. All right. Hopefully you guys can see in there. There was, what in the world? I thought there was a little bird peeping. At the same time that I'm looking in there, I heard a peeping sound, and it's just a bird off in the distance. But here we have it. First house with evidence that something nested. Now we're gonna get this out. And I really, really hope there's not a little tiny snake hiding up under this nesting material, because I have no choice but to reach in, and I am gonna get on my knees in case I need to take off. I'll be faster from this point. All right, so you do need to clean the houses out because they're not gonna nest in the same material. Now, I don't know what it would look like if a purple martin nested versus a bluebird. I was expecting to find eggshells. I'm trying to get it out in one piece. All right, so there's a little feather, but there's no eggshells. So that's just a feather that the bird put in there to make the nest. Now, this is the material that Jason and I put in there initially, that the man told us to do that so that the birds would, there went a wasp, I'm not swatting. So that material is there on the bottom You can see some of this was what we put in there. And whatever bird this was, I'm gonna have to ask Marycarl what she thinks made this nest. And would there be eggshells if babies hatched? Or could there have been babies hatched and no eggshells? I don't know. But we definitely had a nesting bird. All right, so I'm gonna dump the rest of that out because we know a bird nested in there, and we're gonna clean this one out. All right, I'm gonna put this one to the side because we know it needs to be cleaned out. I'm hopeful. I am really hopeful. All right, let's see. Careful, careful, careful. All right, nothing there. Uh-oh. And I couldn't see. From looking in the front of them, I could not see. All right, y'all, got another nesting material. There again, I'm on my knees. I'm ready to go, providing there's a snake in here. If it is a snake in here, he's gonna be a tiny one. And it's not that I'm petrified of snakes. I just don't want something unexpected coming at me. All right, this is the same bird. You can tell by the way the nest is built. The hole for the eggs is in pretty much the same position. So I don't know if this is a purple martin or not, but I'm gonna do some research and see if I can't find out what their nest looks like. All right, so here's some material Jason and I put in there, and out it goes. And this one will be cleaned out. This is good, y'all. This is really good. So we've only opened 5, and 2 out of the 5 have had evidence that a bird nested. All right, I'm looking for wasp. This one doesn't look like anything nested. All right, no. How about this? How about I go and I take a peek at all of them, and I see if I see any that look promising. Well, this one is weird looking. Let's see. Please don't be a wasp. I don't think this is what we put in there. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I see that pine straw, and that made me think that that's not what we put in there. Maybe somebody started to nest in that one and they decided otherwise. Uh-oh, there's a wasp. All right. Uh-oh, jackpot. Here's another one that's got stuff in it. Let's turn it to the side and open it up. There again, hope for no wasp. All right, let's see. Gosh, this is a tiny hole to bring this big nest out of, and I want it to be intact. It just keeps coming. All right, so, wow. I think she was planning on having a big family. Now, whether she did or not, I don't know. I mean, there may have been babies that hatched in here. I just don't know. But there's definitely evidence that 3 birds have nested. Now, the difference in these 2 nests is this one has a big open area here, and I may have done that when I pulled it out, versus these other 2 that have 2 holes that look almost identical. But y'all look at this. This is part of our weed mat. They obviously, whoever this bird was, obviously pulled that off of the weed mat and weaved it in there for nesting material. All right. Yeah, this one, it got kind of dirty down in there from that bird nesting in there, so we definitely want to clean this one out. And I think I've got 2 more, and I know that they've got wasp nest in it. Make sure I looked at these. The last 2 have wasp nests. I'm just going to peek in there and make sure that there's not a nest, because if it is, I'm coming back. All right, y'all be nice to me. I see y'all. I don't see a wasp in this one. All right, so this one's just, it's no wasp in it. It's just the leaves that Jason and I put in. But this other one, I see one wasp, but I can't tell if something nested in here or not. This is just a single wasp staring at us. I don't know if he shows up or not, but he made his home in well, he doesn't have a nest or anything. He just decided that was a good shelter, and I kind of don't blame him because it's hot. 3 out of 24. Not too bad. Hopefully next year those birds will be back. All right, y'all, so upon doing a little research, purple martins as well as bluebirds do remove their shells after the babies hatch. So that leads me to one conclusion. The purple martin nest that I saw looked like this. The hole for the babies was in the back of the gourd, allowing the front of it for the parents to feed. Now, this one is the same way. There's just a hole and then there's a big wide open spot. This was the front of it. But this one, I'm having trouble trying to figure this one out. It doesn't resemble the other two nests. I'm thinking that this may have been something different than a purple martin. However, I don't know. I can't be for certain. But I will say this. We know that there were babies. We know that those two sets that we saw, 2 pairs, hatched out some young, and those babies are going to come back here next year because that's where they were born. And they will in turn have their own hatch, and in no time we'll have these 24 gourds filled up with purple martins, which is what our goal was altogether. Now, the gentleman that installed the house for us, he said, we may or may not have birds this year. And by birds, he means even one pair. We may not have even had one pair. But we know that we had 2 pair that nested here. And I can just about tell you without a shadow of a doubt that these 2 nests had babies. And they're fast. They're really fast. We would catch a glimpse of them, and by the time, I wanted to show you guys on camera that we had purple martins, but by the time I'd get out here and I would find it and focus on it, they'd be gone. And that's what I found time and time again, same as Jason. He would try to record them, and it wasn't possible. They were entirely too fast for us to show you guys. But this is proof, and also proof to me that next year we're gonna have more birds. It's gonna be a job putting all these back on. Jason used wire because our initial thought was to use zip ties, but we get a lot of wind here when there's tropical storms like the one that's approaching now, and he was scared that if we just use zip ties, there may have been a clutch of babies in one of these gourds and a storm come and the zip tie just not be able to hold on and the gourd fly away. So we're definitely going to tie them back up next year and reuse the wire versus changing the method. It's just time consuming, but it only has to be done twice a year, and that's putting them up and taking it down. The purple martins do lay between 2 and 8 eggs. And upon my research, I also found that if the first clutch that they lay is unsuccessful, they may lay a second brood in a season. However, it's not likely. Most of the time they only lay 1 brood a year, and the adults will feed the babies insects. So that may be the reason that we only caught them in flight, is because they were busy off gathering insects, and they have to be fast in order to catch the things that their diet consists of. I'm just so happy to know that we had some nesting here on our farm in the first season of the purple martin houses. Well, I think it's obvious that I'm very excited to know that we had at least a pair of purple martins nesting at our property this year. And I'm going to tell Jason. So y'all hang on and we're going to see what he thinks. While I'm waiting on Jason, Tucker said she wanted to tell y'all that she is doing very well. And there's nothing wrong with her. For any of you that thought you haven't seen Tucker in a while, she's just been chilling because Alabama's hot during the summer. It makes you want to stretch out and do crazy things, but we're about to have some cooler weather. So Tucker will be seen more, I'm sure. Right, girl? All right, I think I hear Jason. I got to show you something.
All right.
So you know I told you I was going to take the gourds down.
Yeah.
You got to see this. I want to see what you think.
Ain't no snake in there, was it?
No, it wasn't a snake, but guess what I did find?
I'm going to guess and say bees.
Several red wasps.
Yeah.
And I reenacted what you would have done had you found those bees. Just show us real quick. Hang on. Let me.
Are you ready?
No, I'm not ready.
Tell me when you're ready.
What would you do if you had seen those red wasps?
Is that what you reenacted?
Well, my hands were just flopping all over the place because that's immediately what you do is start swatting.
Yeah, I swat. I'm a swatter.
Oh, look. I don't know if y'all can see that. Probably it's not showing up on the on the camera.
What's that called? It's not a rainbow.
It's not a sundog, is it?
Sundog. I think that's what it is.
A sundog. I don't think it's showing up though, but it may. Anyway, come on, I got to show you. So don't mind my mess, Jason. I have all the gourds laid out on the ground, right where I just finished up looking inside.
Were they easy to look inside of?
Well, I tell you what was hard, and you're not going to be happy with me when we go to put them back up, is we tied them on with wire, and I explained why, because, you know, with our wind that we have here, it could make them fall off. So some of the wires were easy to get off the gourds, and you see some of them I left on.
I got you.
But it's okay. I mean, it's just going to be more difficult to put them back up when the season changes.
Right.
Here's what I wanted to show you. Walk over there by the beep beep. And do you see those three nests?
Oh my gracious, so these are nests.
Those are nests. And obviously 3 of them. So I'm thinking that one and the one up under it were a purple martin.
Really?
And I think that one may have been a bluebird. What do you think?
I'm thinking this one was purple martin. I don't know though. I don't know because it's got those leaves in it.
Well, the leaves are from us, silly.
I know that. You know what? I always like to look inside them, see what they're made out of. But you can see this. Can you see that black?
Yeah, I showed that. That's off the landscape fabric.
The landscape fabric, the weed mat.
So they went to a lot of trouble to weave that in, and we're not doing any harm by removing these nests. They need to be taken down at the end of every season.
Right.
And so I've got those set aside over here to clean them out with soap and water. But I am quite impressed with 3 nests after just 1 season of them being here.
So if these were, I told you that I thought it was 2 families already.
You did, and that's what I saw as well. Every time we came out and tried
to actually... Four purple martins. Every
time we came out and tried to actually get a video or a shot of one of them, of course they flew off faster than we could get a camera on them. But
and if that was true, then those 2 families will come back.
And then their
if they
children.
Have babies, their babies will come. So
right, and that's how you get a colony of purple martins.
That's pretty awesome.
So I'm happy, to say the least. Even if it was all 3 bluebirds, I'm still happy.
Yeah.
There's no way to determine, but I have a good feeling that those 4 birds that we saw had 2 nests, and those are those. I hope y'all enjoyed opening up the purple martin houses. Didn't really know what I would find. Glad I didn't find a snake, just a few wasps, and we'll put them back up again this spring. Y'all don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and y'all be good.